Welcome to ESPN Cricinfo Match Day UK once again. We're focusing on the opening day win that the hosts have managed to register, sending a serious message to the rest of the World Cup. Faf du Plessis won the toss, decided England are going to have a bat first. Their relative or suspected lesser strength, and they managed to still put on over 300, courtesy two 106-run partnerships, first between Root and Roy, then between Stokes and Morgan. And a great day out for Ben Stokes, who along with Jofra Archer taking half the South African wickets and ensuring that the eventual margin of victory would be 104 runs. Still with Darren Ganga, Murli Karthik, and we'll also get thoughts from Albie Morkel and Graham Swan along with Alexis Nunez in just a bit. But let's go back to this game. Where was this game won for you? 311, in the end too many runs, but at halftime would South Africa still have been happy with that effort? They also had moments in the chase where you think this game could get interesting, Darren.
Yeah, it was still in the balance. I thought it would have been a closer game than what we saw. And that's purely on the fact that England as a batting unit, this target score of 311 was the lowest when they batted first in recent times. So you expected a total closer to 350. That's why I felt South Africa had a chance of winning this one. But again, the balance to that is England and their bowling. You look at that bowling attack with Jofra Archer, Adil Rashid, and what he's achieved post-2015 World Cup, the leading wicket taker, playing at home. You expected him to be a threat. He wasn't, but I think the collective effort of all the bowlers and the all cricket, the catching, the brilliance in the field, that to me put the icing on the cake for this victory. And it really would have sent a psychological sort of message to South Africa very early in the game with that short delivery that Jofra Archer bowled to their best batsman, Hashim Amla. I've played in dressing rooms when your top player, Brian Lara or Chris Gale, goes down because of injury and because of a superior sort of act by the opposition. It reverberates in that dressing room. And
we saw the acknowledgement of that very point that Darren makes, Karthik, from Faf du Plessis, that it did in some way affect the flow of the chase. Take me to the Jofra Archer spell. All his wickets seemed like he hurried the batsman and what we thought was a wicket that was slowing down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Michael Holding spoke and always speaks about. He says sometimes people keep talking about help of the surface, but if you've got speed in the air, then it counters for everything else. And everything is set up in the first few overs, whether as a batting unit or as a bowling unit. The way Jofra Archer bowled, just getting your top people out and just sending a message. Sometimes it's that searing hot spell which makes you think. And that's where it sets the tone for the rest of the bowlers and also the rest of the batsmen coming in. If one of your top batsmen is felled by a searing quick bouncer, and that too Hashim Amla, it just puts the brakes on what you have planned. You planned that the top two will go, see through, get the runs, and then it's for the others to take over from there, and that doesn't happen. So yeah, they've just been super disciplined with the way they bowl. They were brilliant with the ball. And
there would have been some questions on the use of Jofra Archer. If I could go back to Graham Swan and Alexis Nunez for a bit. And Swanee, take me through the use of Jofra Archer, who got an extra over, so 5 overs with the new ball that eventually saw him get the wicket of Faf du Plessis. Alexis, you can take the conversation forward too with Swanee's takeaways from this entire game for England.
Thanks, Ronak. All right, Swati, well, you heard from Ronak as well, but what did you make of just the collective bowling performance from England? Let's start off with that point, though, from Jofra Archer.
Well, the very fact that he stamped his authority on the game by sort of knocking out Hashim Amla early on with sheer pace, and the pace he was hitting the gloves. English fans aren't used to seeing that. We're used to dibbly-dobbly medium-pace bowlers. Liam Plunkett, who is our enforcer, our quick bowler, looked so slow at the other end compared to him, which is not taken away from Plunkett. He still bowled well. Jofra Archer is sheer pace, and he's a good bowler, and he gives them that edge that they have lacked. And it was one of the reasons that many people in England would think it, not trying to get carried away, knowing that the batting is always going to be strong enough, knowing that the spin will do well in the middle, but always a little bit, will our seamers be good enough? With Jofra Archer in the team, undoubtedly they now have firepower. In the start, where he can open the bowling with a new ball. In the middle, where he can come back on and get a wicket. And at the death as well, he's a good bowler. So he's completed the England bowling attack. I'm not saying it's a complete performance by England, because Johnny Bairstow was out first ball. So Johnny, chin up, go back, think about what you can contribute in the next game, please. But the rest of the team will be very happy with their performance today.
And what about the spinners now? Because we were talking, probably they looked, at least to me, a little bit expensive sometimes, but see, you said, you know what, they contributed, and it was actually a fair performance from them.
Well, Adil Rashid especially bowled very well. Moeen Ali hasn't had a great game, especially bowling to a couple of left-handers. He was a little bit expensive. expensive, but he did have a short boundary to defend at one point. Sorry about this. I invited my fan club.
He's too popular.
You know, that's how we go, isn't it? But the spinners did well. I mean, they're not world-class spinners. The Indians are not famous like that, but they've got very, very good records, especially in one-day cricket over the last 2 years. Adil Rashid especially, and he bowled beautifully. And when you're being supported by catches like the one Ben Stokes took in the field,
my goodness,
it doesn't matter who you are. You could bowl over the back of your shoulder, you're going to win games.
And like you said, Jofra Archer, just to go back to him, because of course everyone may be singing Swanee's name out here, but a lot of people have been singing about Jofra Archer since we've been here. I spoke to Joe Root last week and he said, you know, he's definitely not the finished article, and that's almost scary for the opposition to think that. But what more can you ask from him from today? How do you manage this kind of individual, given the fact that he still is so inexperienced rather?
Well, you don't expect too much from him. You say, if that's your performance, if you can deliver that game in, game out, it's not like he's taken 6 wickets and blown a team away. He's had a very, very solid performance doing what he does best. So it's an easy one to replicate for him. So just keep doing it. Keep bowling fast, bowling good channels. Most importantly, I thought it was very good for a few of the England batsmen got 50 and posted 311. Ben Stokes with that 89, wasn't a blistering 89, but coupled to his couple of wickets in that catch, easy man of the match.
Indeed. That super catch from Ben Stokes. And it's funny how before we were talking about how England might have wanted about 25 runs or so more, but that probably would not have boded very well for South Africa, guys.
Oh, you bet. And I'm sure that Graham Swan insisted that change of location to make sure his fan club happens to pass when on camera. Swanee, you vain man. But don't you go anywhere. We will come back to Graham Swan and Alexis Nunes as we also look to build up to tomorrow's game, Pakistan v West Indies. Let's go to Albie Morkel though and talk about moments that South Africa had. It looks like a 104-run defeat on paper, Albie, but they were 2 for 129 at one stage before the Quinton de Kock wicket, and at that point it looked like de Kock and Van der Woesten, who had put together a partnership of 85, would take this game deeper. Very, very innocuous sort of wicket of Quinton de Kock, then a run out. How much of it was nerves, and what are the takeaways for South Africa that are still positive from this game? I'll come back to Albie Morkel in just a bit. Let me take that conversation forward. There were still moments, Darren, in that chase, and that Quinton de Kock wicket was innocuous against the run of play at the time.
When you look at that South African batting lineup, you felt that Hashim Amla and Quinton de Kock had to play a leading role in that run chase. I looked at the record of both Faf du Plessis and JP Duminy against this England team.
Yeah.
Their average against this England team way below their career averages. So I think a lot would have relied upon Amla and de Kock. Unfortunate for de Kock, he was more looking for power than placement, and that led to his demise. But I think you must also give England credit for the manner in which they started their innings with the ball.
Sure.
I think tone is very crucial. You have to set the right tone, whether it's bat or ball in a one-day game. And I think the fielding effort, I want to highlight Jason Roy behind point. He saved about 15 or 20 runs.
Yep.
And when you have that type of support to bowlers, I think it adds to the collective confidence of any team.
Yeah, we saw some of the catches. We've already arguably seen the contender for catch of the tournament in the first game itself. That Ben Stokes catch of Adil Rashid to dismiss and Dilip Eklukwayo will pretty much stay in the short list, even though we're just one game down in the World Cup. Full credit to Archer and the way England enforced the issue in the first half or so, Karthik. But that wicket of de Kock, then the wicket of JP Duminy was also almost out of nothing. The run out of Pretorius, it looked like South Africa doing South Africa things, which becomes a bit of a meme in World Cups.
Yeah, by that time also the asking rate was climbing, because if you look at the way, you can talk about the way Quinton de Kock got out, and should he have gotten out at that time, it is his shot. He does play that shot, but as Darren mentioned, sometimes when you're trying to overhit, you end up holding out to the man rather than finding the gap. And for the others, while they walked in, it was always a question of getting a move on immediately.
Dismissal a poor dismissal for you? There are good wickets that are earned and wickets that are thrown away. Was the Duminy one qualify into that?
Yeah, it does, because he's somebody who's been a seasoned campaigner for a very long time, and you would expect him to soak in some pressure and then start going. But having said that, you look at when he came and what he had to do. Sometimes you want to take that chance and you want to get a move on, and you end up paying the price for it.
Would this just be all right, Faf du Plessis goes into the dressing room and says, this is as tough as it was going to be for us. We put it behind. There's enough to still take forward. Can you have that sort of conversation, even though you've, in some aspect, been outplayed? Is that fair to say? You've been outplayed?
Yeah, he's got to look forward to this tournament. He's got 8 matches remaining in this tournament, and it's important for him to take the positives out of this game. I think his bowling would have been the highlight from this encounter. Yes, question marks over the batting, the non-inclusion of David Miller, opting for the youngsters and the inexperience of Markram and Van der Dusen. Van der Dusen coming to the fore. But I still think you need to look at what your options are, play the right options against particular oppositions. And if he did his research, he would have realized that David Miller has always done well against England. So that could have probably been the tipping point for him being in the 11 as against Markram.
Yeah, but you look at what he said in the post-match press conference, and you get a feeling what he had to contend with. You're relying on Dale Steyn to be fit. So if he's fit, then obviously you can think of someone else in the middle order or somebody like a Miller. Right now you're thinking of a Pretorius, JP Duminy bowling to the left-handers and things to contend with. I feel that he's relying too much on Dale Steyn to be there.
The fact is Van der Dusen, the man who came in for Miller, actually got some runs. So it's a few questions for Faf du Plessis to answer, and he has 3 games in 7 days. He's done with 1 quick turnaround at the Oval against Bangladesh. More coming up. Stay with us on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.
2010 was a brilliant World Cup. If you only watched the England games, every game we played was an absolute corker and a close finish. Especially the one that stands out in my memory is against South Africa in Chennai.
The Chennai track was spinning like a top when England and South Africa met in the 2011 World Cup. South Africa needed 8 runs in 3 overs to close out the low-scoring affair.
We didn't get a very big total at all, and South Africa went in basically thinking we're going to cruise this, but it was a real turning pitch. I remember getting Graham Smith out early on, caught behind. He went for the old DRS, said he didn't hit it. Many people were saying, oh, it's South Africa, they choke in World Cups, but I put it all down to the spinners of England who won us that game. The one thing I remember about that game is the fact that the wicket was turning a lot, and so we knew that South Africans weren't great players of spin, and they'd sort of go like rabbits in the headlight and not really attack us so much. So that's what we tried to do. We tried to bowl as fast as we could into the wicket, extract as much spin as possible and put them under pressure, and it worked.
Good to still have you on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. England have done the business on day 1. Over now to day 2, and the West Indies charge starts off from the Oval to Trent Bridge will be our focus. And Melinda Farrell of ESPN Cricinfo has the very latest ahead of the opening game for both Pakistan and the West Indies.
Well, guys, Pakistan was the first team to train here at Trent Bridge today, and all the players got through the session unscathed, which puts Mickey Arthur in an unusual position of late. He has all 15 squad members fully fit and raring to go ahead of an ODI. He tells me that hasn't happened in 12 ODIs, and they have lost 10 on the bounce. So that gives him a little bit of a selection headache, a welcome one with everyone fit. Whether or not Mohammad Amir will play is always of interest, of course. And then if Shadab Khan is fit, who misses out? Would it be Mohammad Hafiz or would it be Shoaib Malik, both of whom have so much experience? Now, the West Indies, they are just loving rolling into town like they are with this underdogs tag that has attached itself to them in the lead up to the World Cup. And they really want to stay underneath the radar. Jason Holder has said that as well. They're really happy to just stay there. Their coach, Floyd Reifer, has told me that the key for him, though, despite all their flamboyance, all their power hitting, is consistency. That's been a problem for them of late, so that's the thing that he is really looking for. I have seen a few players, a few bowlers walking around Trent Bridge looking up in the sky. Now, it's a white kookaburra, it's not a red Duke's ball, but the clouds have been coming over and disappearing, so maybe they feel there could be a little bit of swing here, and with the short boundaries and all the runs that have been scored here in recent times, I think the bowlers will be happy for any help they might possibly get.
Mel Farrell from Nottingham, and we will get Mel's thoughts more in detail tomorrow ahead of the game. Let's get quick reaction from Darren and Karthik. West Indies chart starts tomorrow. Quietly confident, excited, under the radar, like Jason Holder says?
I would say a little ahead of Pakistan at this point in time, given what transpired in the warm-up matches. Pakistan, unfortunately, weren't able to get a win coming into this first match. West Indies, on the other hand, will be happy with the inclusion of their senior players, Andre Russell, Christopher Henry Gale. They look in good form, and that's very important for them. Again, I think the strength is the batting, and they've got to play an 11 that sort of speaks to that. Their bowling not as penetrative as Jason Holder would want, so that will be huge for him to manage his bowlers against the opposition. Very volatile, just as Pakistan, and you know, they've been on a losing streak of recent times, and the positive will definitely be the fitness of Mohammad Amir, who's a part of this Pakistan
It looks
squad.
like Mel said, that everyone's fit, but we'll come to that conversation in a second. Contrasting sort of form going into this game, as Darren says, that Pakistan have actually lost 10 from the last 10 completed ODIs. West Indies wouldn't mind that. 6-4 and some good wins at the start of the year against England too. The point that Mel makes on Pakistan is everyone's fit, but like Misbah-ul-Haq said on our preview, Karthik, they don't know who their best 11 is.
They don't know because they've had some problems themselves. The kind of players they've picked, they've not been in form. Hafiz has not been in the best of form. Shoaib Malik, they might be seasoned campaigners, but you're not resting on past laurels, but living on the current ones, and it's not gone well. The top three have been brilliant. Babar Azam has been brilliant. And apart from that, you look at what they've been at the receiving end of some brutal English batting. And apart from the tonking which they have taken or the beating which they have taken, all their fast bowlers look a bit tired and jaded for me. Hassan Ali, Shaheen Afri, they're all quick, but the thing is that they have not been bowling anywhere close to where they can bowl. And if they're not quick on placid tracks, then it's all the more, it makes it all the more difficult, because Chris Gale is going to lick his chops if you're going to be bowling there. So yeah, it doesn't augur too well for Pakistan at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes chaos is what makes Pakistan most dangerous.
Indeed, and we've seen that in the past, so that's why it's very difficult to predict how this Pakistan team will play.
And don't give too much away, because we're going to have a full pre-show. West Indies or Pakistan for you tomorrow?
Definitely West Indies.
West Indies, I didn't need to.
West Indies always.
Very well. We'll have more coming from Karthik and Darren Ganga tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Join us for the pre-show tomorrow. Until then, from all of us, it is goodbye.